Also on South Africa tonight, welcome back to eNCA. The Indoor Hockey World Cup continues tonight in Pretoria. Both the South African men's and women's teams are in action again. The women are facing Netherlands at the moment, while the men's side will take on the Czech Republic at 8:10. I'm joined by former men's captain and Olympian Steve Evans. Good evening, Steve. Great to be chatting to you tonight. And thank you for joining us on the show. My opening question has to be with regards to the ladies. They are in action as we speak. 1-1 against Netherlands with, I think, just 25 minutes on the clock. Serene Ksila scoring from a penalty corner. Can the ladies register their first victory of the tournament?
Yeah, that's a great question. They've certainly shown some great intent so far. And now it's up to them to make sure that they lock the back door and take those opportunities as they come.
Steve, speaking of first wins, the men's team drew against Australia as Mustafa Kasim stole the light as one of the top players. How different must their approach be for the match that starts in just a few minutes against Czech Republic?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a different kettle of fish. The Czech Republic are certainly one of the higher ranked teams. I think they're number 3 in the world at the moment. The Aussies tend to be on about a similar level to us in terms of world rankings, around the 10 and 11 mark. So important that they picked up that 1 point, because tournaments are all about the small margins. But they certainly have the potential to upset against the Czech Republic. And the Czech haven't started their tournament particularly well, so beware the wounded dog.
Are we able to beat our competitors in the pool that we find the men's team in?
Absolutely. You know, at these tournament levels and international tournaments, it's all about the small margins. It's about planning your campaign so that you know where you can pick up the points that you need in order to get yourself through to that quarterfinal. And once you're in the quarters, anything can happen.
All right, realistically speaking, for both the men's and women's team, do we have the chances of going all the way to the finals? Or how good can we do in this current World Cup?
The realistic answer is that if we get into the quarters, we will have achieved higher than we've ever achieved before. So that just puts things into perspective. Unfortunately, we don't play as much indoor hockey as a lot of the European teams do. So for us, it's an ancillary program to our outdoor program, which is the primary program. But like I said before, the beautiful thing about hosting it in our back garden is that we've got the home ground support, and as we've seen, even you know, with some of the other hosted World Cups that we've had, it brings out the best in our players with all that home ground advantage and home ground support. And you know, there's a story that's waiting to be written there. So a very exciting opportunity for our boys and girls to achieve higher than what any other South African indoor team has achieved. And as we said, one game at a time from the quarters, and who knows, maybe they're going to be lifting that trophy.
All right, Steve, what impact then does having the World Cup on African soil do for the sport of hockey in South Africa? We win most of our African championships. It helps us to qualify for major tournaments. But as you mentioned in your previous answer, you have said that we don't have as regular matches and game time like our European counterparts. So when is the change going to come?
That's also another great question. I think, like everything, we know that hockey is one of those sort of semi-professional sports. So at the top level, the guys that are playing full-time are finding club contracts in Europe, and mostly studying at the same time in the local context. So we've got a beautiful junior program that's been running for the last 10 years. And we're starting to see the fruits of and the benefits of that program. And I think it's such an exciting time, because what this World Cup is doing is shining a spotlight on the talent and on our teams. And we know with a bit of backing from corporate South Africa, you know, we'll be able to play and compete more regularly And obviously with that regular exposure comes opportunity to improve and perform on the highest at the highest level on the world stage and get the results that our public are so desperate for.
Having said that, Steve, in closing, your family has a long history in the sport. Tell us a little bit more about that.
No, fantastic. So my dad was in Europe during the 70s, based in London, played at Hansa Hockey Club with a whole lot of the GB internationals, and had a big exposure to the game. Brought it back here in 78. Was involved in a number of different tours from Europe, coming out to South Africa. In those days, it was, of course, sanctions against South Africa, so they were all unofficial tours. And we had a series against 2 English sides and against the Irish in 1985. And then following on from there, in the late 90s, we sent 3 teams, 97, in 99, and in 2001, to essentially what it would be the European Cup warm-up program. So they've got a couple of cities that host tournaments in the Czech Republic, in Prague, in Glasgow in Scotland, and of course in Vienna in Austria. And so we sent teams over, and my father was involved there as a coach and as the manager of those tours. And because South Africa had been at all 3 of those warm-up tournaments or warm-up competitions in the previous sort of 6 years, when it came that the FIH decided to host the first ever Indoor World Cup in 2003, South Africa were invited along. And we were lucky enough to, my little brother Ian, who also played with me at the Olympics in 2004, the 2 of us competed. My father was the chef de mission on that particular tour, and my wife actually was the physio as well. So, very, very embedded family history there. And what is going to be fantastic is we have a gathering of all ex-internationals at the finals on Saturday in Pretoria. So we're going to be getting together and sharing some memories and celebrating the sport that we love so much.
Fantastic. Steve Evans, thank you very much for your time all the way out in Cape Town. Former SA men's indoor hockey captain, just speaking about the chances of the men's and the women's team in this World Cup. Of course, they're in action tonight. The women are up against Netherlands, and just at 8:10, the men will be taking on Czech Republic. All right, that's sports on South Africa tonight. Back to you, Sally.